Okay, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulil Kareem. Okay, the topic of today is what?
4 rules of Noon, Saakin, and Tanween.
Good. What is Noon Sakin?
When
It's
a
a
noon,
noon with a
Sukun.
sukun or a sakin. Okay?
Mhm.
There's many different ways to say it. Noon with a sukun, noon with a sakin, noon sakina, or noon sakin. But it's the noon with this symbol on it. And this symbol means, does it mean to say ah? Does it mean to say e? Or does it mean to say u?
Neither.
None. It's not ah, it's not e, it's not u. It means that you do what on this letter? Do you go or do you stop?
Stop.
You stop. Okay? And you connect it to another what?
Letter.
Good. So that tells us that all of these rules are going to be based on the noon second being connected to another
Letter.
letter. Okay?
Or
But it's
Tanween.
not just about noon second. Noon second makes what sound?
Mm.
Right? An, fan, qan, tan. Okay? Tin, bin, shin, sun, bun. It all stops with right? Okay? But there's another symbol or a group of symbols in the Quran that makes the an in un sound. And those three symbols are called what?
Tanween.
Good. The first one is
Tanween Fat.
make the sound. Make the sound.
And
The second one is
in
the third one is
un.
good. And now if you're advanced, if you want to be a superhero, if you want to be a super student, then you'll say the names of them. Fathatain, an,
And
kasratain,
Kasratain.
in.
In. Dammatain. Un.
طيب? All together they are called what?
Tanween.
Good. Yes, you are superheroes. Alhamdulillah. Okay, so these are the 4 rules for Noon Sakin and Tanween. Okay? How do we know which of the 4 rules to utilize? How do we know?
By their letters.
What letters?
By like those hard letters at the Oh.
Close. You're giving us some of the information, but not all of it. We utilize one of the 4 rules based on the letter that comes
after the Noon
after.
Noon Saakin. Or Tanween.
Okay? Say that again, the whole thing.
We utilize one of the 4 rules based on the letter that comes after the Noon Saakin or Tanween.
Good. How many rules are there?
4.
What are these rules for?
Noon Saakin.
And
Tanween.
and what is it based on? It's based on the letter that comes
after Noon Saakin or Tanween.
طيب. The first rule that we learned about is called Al-Izhaar. Say it.
Al-Izhaar.
Say it again.
Al-Izhaar.
Al-Izhaar means
clarity.
yes, it means clarity. Say clarity.
Clarity.
We're going to recite
Recite
Noon Sakin
Noon
or
Saakin
Tanween
or Tanween
clearly.
clearly.
Understood?
Yes.
Okay. Tell me again, what is the first rule and what does it mean?
Al-Izhaar.
The first rule is
Al-Izhaar.
no, say it. The first rule is
The first rule is Al-Izhaar, which means clarity.
and we are going to
Recite clearly.
recite what clearly? We should recite everything clearly.
Izhaar. Noon Saakin and Tanween.
What about them?
We should recite them clearly.
Good. Okay? Now, we know how many rules there are. We know the name of the first rule. We know what the first rule means. We know that these rules are for these 2 things, right?
Yes.
Now we need to know. Oh, also we know that we select the rule based on the letter that comes after these 2 things. Okay? We know those 5 things. But there's another thing we need to know. If we're applying izhar, we need to know what? We need to know which
letters it is.
Letters
Izhaar is.
are going to
apply to Izhaar.
Exactly. We need to know which letters are the letters that tell us to apply izhar. Is that clear?
Yes.
How many letters are there that are going to tell us to apply izhar? 6. The first one is
Hamza.
What 3 sounds does the hamza make?
A-U.
Good. The next letter is
Ha.
What 3 sounds does the ha make?
Ha-hu.
But I want you to say it with a noon second. So
And in.
good. Good. The third letter is
Ain.
3 sounds.
An and on.
Fourth letter is
Ha.
The three sounds are?
One.
Say it clearly, guys. The fifth letter is?
Ghain.
And there's three sounds it makes?
Ghain. Ghun.
And the sixth letter is?
Kha.
And the three sounds that it makes are?
Khun. Khin. Khun.
Good. Are we done?
No.
No, we still don't understand Izhaar completely, right? We still have more things to learn. We need examples. Okay?
Okay.
Should we just do an example of Noon Sakin with a Noon Sakin followed by Hamza?
No.
And a Noon Sakin followed by Ha? And a Noon Sakin followed by Ain and Ha and Ghain and Kha? And then we're done?
No.
No, we also have to do what?
Find other examples.
Examples of?
Izhaar. Noon Sakin.
I said Noon Sakin. Noon Sakin followed by Hamza, Ha, Ain, Ha, Kha, Ghain.
Tanween.
We have to do Tanween followed by what?
Izhaar.
Hamza,
Hamza. Ha. Ain. Ha. Ghain.
Kha, and Ghain. Naam, or Ghain and Kha. Naam. طيب? Now, look at our first example of Noon Sakin. Say Noon Sakin.
Noon Sakin.
Followed by Hamza.
Followed by Hamza.
Man amana.
Man amana.
Any questions about that? Did we recite the Noon clearly?
Yes.
Good. Noon Sakin followed by?
Noon Sakin followed by Ha.
Man hajara.
Man hajara.
Noon Sakin followed by?
Ain.
Say this.
Noon Sakin followed by Ain.
Min ilmin.
Min ilmin.
Good. Next is?
Noon Sakin followed by Ha.
فإن حاجوك.
فإن حاجوك.
Good.
Noon Sakin followed by Ghain.
Min ghillin.
Min ghillin.
Good. Next example is, everybody?
Noon Sakin followed by Kha.
Min khilafin.
Min khilafin.
Any questions about that?
No.
No? Okay. Now read the examples without me. Number one is?
Man amana.
Don't say min if there's a fatha there.
Man amana.
Good.
من
Again.
هاجر
Next.
من علم فإن هاجوك
Next.
من غل
Next.
من غلف
Min.
من غلف
Min.
من غلاف.
طيب. Now, the next group of examples are not going to show us Noon Sakin. They're going to show us what, everybody?
تنوين.
And the three types of Tanween are?
فتحتين كسرتين ضمتين.
Good. What we don't have here, pay very close attention. We do not have an example of all three with each letter. With Hamza with the fathatain, Hamza with the kasratain, Hamza with the dhammatain, Ha with the fathatain, Ha with the kasratain, Ha with the dhammatain, and Ain with fathatain, kasratain, dhammatain. In each letter with fathatain, kasratain, dhammatain. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't mean that they don't exist. These are just short examples for us to understand, and then you will find many examples in the Quran. Is that understood?
Mm-hmm.
Good. Okay. So, example of Tanween followed by a Hamza. Kullun amana. Say an example.
Example of Tanween followed by Hamza. كل آمن.
An example of Tanween followed by Ha is Jurufin Hara.
An example of Tanween followed by Ha is Jurufin Hara.
An example of Tanween followed by an Ain is Sami'un Alimun.
An example of Tanween is Ain.
Followed
by Ain is Sami'un Alimun.
Now, an example of Tanween followed by Ha is Aliman Hakiman.
An example of Tanween followed by Ha is Alimun Hakim.
Aliman Hakiman.
Aliman Hakiman.
An example of Tanween followed by Ghain is Rabbun Ghafurun.
An example of Tanween followed by Ghain is Rabbun Ghafurun.
An example of Tanween followed by Kha is Alimun Khabirun.
An example of Tanween followed by Kha is Alimun Khabirun.
Good. Try to say these examples without me now. Number one.
Kullun amana.
Next.
Jurufin hara.
Next.
Sami'un alimun.
Next. Aliman
hakiman.
Next.
Rabbun ghafurun.
Next.
Alimun khabirun.
طيب, excellent. Now it's all of your turn to look into the Quran and find just one example of reciting the noon sakina or tanween with idhar. Before we get to that, we have to look at the questions. We had some excellent questions. Question number one is, if the noon sakin or tanween are in one word and the letter of al-izhar is in a different word, should we still apply the rule of idhar?
Yes.
And the second question was, if the noon sakin or tanween are in the same word as the letter of idhar, do we apply the idhar?
Yes.
The answer was yes, we still apply the rule because the idhar letter is still after the noon sakin or tanween. Okay? That's the only thing we need to know is, does it come after the noon sakin or tanween? Doesn't matter if it's in the same word, doesn't matter if it's in a different word. And we have examples here. Man amana. Man is one word, amana is another word. Correct?
Yes.
Kullun is one word, amana is another word. طيب? So that clarifies that. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions about that?
I feel like I already found it.
Are you sure? Okay. Let me just illustrate it one more time. Like we said before, these rules are about what two things? Noon sakin or tanween. Okay? If you see those in the Quran, if you see noon sakin or you see tanween in the Quran, you should be thinking about applying what?
Idhar.
Only idhar right away? Just jump to idhar, just forget everything else?
One of the four rules.
One of the four rules. 1, 2, 3, or
4.
طيب. But you should also have a question in your mind, because the only way that you can know which rule to apply is if you look at what?
The letter after noon sakin.
The letter that comes after it. The what, guys? The letter that comes after noon sakin or tanween. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So first, number one, you have to see the noon sakin or tanween. Okay? This is number one. Number two, you have to think of the four rules. You have to know the four rules, otherwise you won't have a choice of picking the rule if you only know one. It's like if I tell you to bake me a cookie and you only know how to make chocolate chip cookies. Do I have a choice of chocolate chip or oatmeal raisin or sugar cookie? No, because you only know how to make what? Chocolate chip. But if you know all 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 types of cookies, then we have a choice. طيب? The third thing you need to do is to see which letter comes after them. Okay? Once you know which letter comes after it, then you can select the rule. So if we see one of our letters, and how many letters are there?
6.
6. They are
Hamza, ha, ayn, ha, ghayn, kha.
good. Hamza, ha, ayn, ha, ghayn, and kha. Okay? Hamza's over here. Okay? So if Hamza comes in afternoon, if Hamza comes in the afternoon, you get it? Okay, anyways. Tajweed jokes. So then, if we see these letters after it, the fifth thing we need to do is to do what? Recite what?
Idhar. It clearly.
It what?
Recite noon sakin clearly.
Only noon sakin?
Or tanween. Recite noon sakin or the tanween clearly.
Recite noon sakin or tanween clearly. Okay? I'm going to give you guys a bonus hint about this. Bonus is, like we were saying, or as we had on the board earlier, reciting clearly means, what does reciting clearly means? What does it mean? It means clarity, right?
Mm-hmm.
It means to recite
without
exactly without what?
Ghunna.
Ghunna. Okay? We didn't learn what ghunna is. Some of you might already know. We didn't learn what it is because right now we're reciting without it. Okay? But later on, we will learn about what ghunna is. Okay? Because the noon and the tanween are not always going to be recited clearly. But when we say clearly, it means without ghunna. Right? Because we don't have this rule for every letter. We don't say, in this case, you recite ba clearly. In this case, you don't recite it clearly. The ba is always clear. Right?
Mhm.
Actually, no, there's rules for the ba too. Okay? But the fa is always clear. Right? The sin is always clear. But the noon and the tanween have 4 special what? Rules. And they're not always going to be recited how? Clearly. But if we see these 6 letters, then we know we're going to recite it how?
Clearly.
طيب? Okay. I'm not going to give you examples of reciting it without clarity and reciting it with ghunna because we would just want to focus on this. Okay?
Okay.
طيب. Now, find those examples. Bismillah.
I found one.
Yes, tell us an example.
Minhum.
Good. Everyone say it, please.
Minhum.
Who can spell it without seeing it?
Me.
Spell it out loud. No, you saw it already, so it's your example. Okay, now you can all see it. Minhum.
Minhum.
Good. Who has another example? You should be flipping through, finding examples. You have one?
Anhu.
You can make it up too if you can think of one. You can make it.
Anhu.
Good. Who can spell anhu without seeing it? Good. And I just realized something special about this example. Guess what? All of these examples have the noon sakin or tanween in a different word than its letter. This example has it in the same word. Okay?
I found minhum in the same word.
This is a really good example. You found minhum like this?
Yeah.
Okay, mashallah. So we have 2 examples. طيب. What is it? Sanhuq. You made it up? That's good. That's good. No problem. No problem. طيب. Okay? Sanhuq. Everybody say sanhuq.
Sanhuq.
Good. Yes.
In.
In amana. Good. Everyone say in amana. Good. What time is it? Alaikum salam. Is it time? Sure. Oh, yeah. Okay. No, I didn't realize the time. Okay. Assalamu alaikum. You have another question? Innama. Okay, that actually is different. Let me show you guys why. I'm glad you brought that up though. Say it again.
Huh?
Good.
Yeah.
Innama. It should have a. Or you could say it without. You don't have to stretch the meme. But what is special about this example? The noon and meme are not attached. That's not what's wrong here. But
You very early.
there's actually 2 special things about this noon, but there's only one thing we need to focus on right now because don't forget. The first step is to look for what? What are we looking for? Do we see a noon sakin here? No. What haraka is on the noon? My friend, what haraka is on the noon? Here, is it sukoon fatha? What's the sukoon fatha? It's a. Don't worry about the shadda right now. Just طيب. And if we have a fatha, that means what? Are we gonna That means which rule do we apply out of the 4? None of them. How many rules do we apply? None. Because we only apply these 4 rules for. And طيب. Okay. No, should not have that. One more example, inshallah, and then we'll be done. Jazakallah. One more example. What's our next example? Anybody? What is it? Okay, let's use that example. In ma'un. Good. But in ma'un. Who agrees with this example? Walaikum salam wa rahmatullah. Can you give us an example of izhar? Real quick. He's thinking of an example. But who agrees? Give me a thumbs up if this is a good example of izhar. Or give me a thumbs down if it's not. You say yes. Yeah, I'm asking you to give us an example, but at the same time we're talking about the one that we have right now. You say no. You say yes. You say yes. Okay, explain to us, Omar. Tell us why.
It's not because it's for it to be like an example. It has to have one of the 6 letters. And
Wait. It would have to have one of those 6 letters where?
After the Nun Sakin.
Good. And do we have one of those 6 letters? What letter do we have? And meme is not one of those letters. Okay, so it's not a good example.
I would have done in Al-Azim.
In Al-Azim. Okay.
Down
Okay. One moment. So now we said in Al-Azim. Who says this is a good example? Give me a thumbs up. If you say it's not a good example, give me a thumbs down. In Al-Azim.
Yeah. In Al-Azim.
Okay. You say yes. You say yes. You say yes. You say yes. Good. Tell me why is this a good example? Hold on. One moment. Why is it a good example? Yes. Go ahead.
Because Ayn is in one of the 6 letters after the Nun Sakin.
Good, because Ayn is one of the 6 letters of Izhaar, and if it comes after the Nun Sakin or the Tanween, we will apply the rule of Izhaar.
Can I have an example?
Yes, you can give an example.
Minha.
Minha. Good.
Minha.
Good.
Minha. Kun. I don't know who.
Who can spell Minha?
Minha.
Good. Min, Nun, Ha, Alif. Minha. Okay. Okay, guys. That's it. Okay. Keep those papers with you, inshallah. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك ونشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت ونستغفرك اللهم ونتوب إليك.